Thank you guys and welcome to Microcode. So today we are going to begin a very interesting video whereby we are going to create an application, a web application using ASP.NETCORE and SQL Server. So if you have not installed Visual Studio, you can actually refer to our previous videos for installation of Visual Studio 2022. So we are going to create an employees management solution. So we are going to create an employee management solution. So I've just launched Visual Studio 2022. Then I can create, on your navigation side, you can see we have a section for create new project. Then you can search for ASP.NET. Then we are going to create an MVC, ASP.NET Core Web Application, MVC. So proceed to next. Then we can call these employees management. Then I can, maybe you can save it there. Then you are going to use a Visual Studio .NET 6. This is still on long-term support. On the authentication, leave it as none. So this is our application. It has actually created our base application. So as you can see here, we have our www root with which hold the CSS and JS files. We also have the controllers. Currently it has our home controller, then where we will be placing our models and where we will be having our views. So if we just launch our application, you can see we have our application as launched. So we are going to create our application using ASP.NET Core and SQL. So we can create our model. So we can add a class here for employees. So employees. So here we can provide the attributes of an employee. Int. So we can provide the primary key. So this will be our primary key. Then an employee first name. Middle name, last name, email address, then we can have the phone number. So you can see these ones, they're indicating if you want this to be nullable, you can actually have a question mark in front of this, but we don't want them to be nullable, so we leave it as it is. So for the phone number, we can have it as int, so that is it. So for us to interact with our database, we'll have to install some Nugets. So we'll be using the Entity Framework Core. So we will actually share a video about Entity Framework Core. So for us to install it, you just click on the application, then manage Nugget packages. Then we can install Entity. Just type in Entity Framework. So we will install Microsoft Entity Framework Core. The latest stable version, mine is 7.00. So if you see this icon here, it means it has installed. So we want to install SQL because we will be linking our database also. So search for Entity Framework SQL Server, the latest version. Then we want the Entity Framework tools. So we have tools here, latest version. and we want design, entity framework design. So we accept. So if we click on the installed, just remove this. So on the install nuggets, you'll be able to see them here on this section, and as well on the dependencies and the packages, you will see them installed there. So we have the same version. So that is how we install the entity framework core. So we will want to create now our DB context, which will be doing the manipulation of our database. That is doing all the operation, CRUD operation of the database, retrieving and adding data. So for us to do that, we'll create a DB context. So we can create a folder where we want our DB context to. So we can just call this context. So we'll be using entity framework code first approach. So we'll talk about this more on our next video about entity framework. So entity framework actually is an object or relational mapper framework. So we call it EF core in short. So it makes database communication more fluent and easy. So the database context class that you want to create acts as a database from our C# code, and it will contain all registered classes that will actually act as tables. So we will create our class here called DB context. So DB context. So this DB context will act as a communication between the C# code and the database. So since we have installed all the nuggets of the entity framework core, so we'll proceed and now create our DB context. So to manage all the connection with the database, we'll have, so we can just create our constructor there. Then this one, so we can just call this, let's rename it to application DB context, because it needs to extend application DB. So that is it. It needs to extend DB context. So this DB context actually is the one now using entity framework core. So the entity framework DB context needs to be inherited by the application DB context to act as a database context class. So this will now act as a database context class. So then on our constructor, we'll provide the DB context option. Just as we supply the DB context option, then we provide our class application DB context. So that is it. Can remove this. Can have it this way. So application DB context, then we can have it as here we can call it context options. Then we want to extend this to is a context option. So this we are defining our, so the DB context option is an instance of options that we are going to register them in our Program.cs. So this is how we are creating the, so it will act as a so this one will now will be registering them on the program CS file. So all our tables and classes, we need to define them here. So since we have created our model, which is the employees, we can now register all our database classes with the DB set, so that the entity framework can communicate with the tables of the database. So we'll do this DB set So then we supply our model here, which is employee. So I had just done something. So model should be in singular, please. So just rename it to be employee. Great. I like it when they are singular. Then here our table should be employees. So with E as caps. So this is now so we are using what we call code first approach in Entity Framework Core. So you can research this, but you can actually look for our videos for more of this. So we'll be doing a video about Entity Framework Core. So we have actually defined one of the so our table, we expect our table to be called employees. So what we need to do is actually register our database connection. So how do we register that? We register it on appsettings.json. So here we can define connection string. So if you just do that, it will actually define. Then we can provide our default connection name. So this one, we are now supplying the server address of our database. So I had installed SQL Server on my machine and SSMS, that is Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So I launch it. So you can also download it. Is actually a free version, and I'm using an Express edition. So I'll just collect. So to get my server address, I just click on properties and I have it here. So I can copy it, then come to my application. So here I'll do this server, then I paste it there. So then after you supply the server, you put in that semicolon, then the database name. Then so we need to create a database. So just click to database, new database, then say employees, or you can say you can call it employees, it's fine. Employees. Click OK, then we'll have our database here. So we don't have any tables so far. So we'll see how this is being, how we will create the tables. So copy the database name, then paste it in front of the database, then full colon, provide the user ID. So my user ID name is, so I'll type in my name. So you can also do the same after you have installed that. Then the password, I'll also put in the password, which is admin. Then I need to put this out. So there are some SSL trust server certificate, so that we don't get any trust issues. So I'll just give this as is equals to true. I think that is fine. So after we have defined that, we need to register our DB context option on the Program.cs. So what we need to do, we'll come here. So I had done something, let me just copy it. So I'll just copy this. So I'll come to Program.cs, then we register our DB context. So we have our application, a DB context, then we are using SQL Server, then configuration connection. It should get our database connection from this string that we have just defined on the app settings. So since we have done that and we have already provided our tables, so our next thing to do is to apply migrations. So we want to effect the changes of to actually create the table, the employee table, this table on our database. So to do that, come to Tools, then Nugget Package Manager, then Package Manager Console. So you'll receive a window like this. So here we can add migration. Just say add migration, then provide the migration name. So we'll do also migrations on our next video. Initial migration, then press enter. So what this will do, it will actually create a query, an SQL query that will create our table. You can see, create a table, employee name, then our fields. These are our fields: first name, middle name, last name, email address, and the phone number. And actually put in a constraint, put in the ID as the primary key for our employee table. So after you have done that, to apply this migration to our database, we use Update-Databse command. So if you press enter, so you're getting something there, which is good. So you can see keyword not supported, server, express database. So I'll just come here. So our settings, so I look on our settings, SQL Server. So let me just see what's going on. So this is our server. Sorry, just initiate them. So I'll copy this here and replace with this. So we have our server name. This is our server name. Database is employees. Then our user ID is that one, and our password is that one. Then trusted certificate and allow multiple active connection is true. So if we just try again, it is done. So you can see it has actually applied the migration. So if we come to our database and refresh it, we expect to see the tables. Good. So you can see we have the migrations table. So when we apply any migrations, so it will be tracking the history. So you can see our migration name is initial migration, and this is the version. Then this is our table, employees table. So you can see we have our ID, first name, middle name, last name, email, and the phone number. So we have not created this manually, but through Entity Framework Core migration. So we have done that, which is good. So our next process is to create our application. So come into views, right click it, then add, then we say new scaffolded item. So this one will create our views and the controllers. So choose the MVC controller with the views using Entity Framework, then click add, then select our model class, which is employee, then our DB context, which is employee application DB context. Then you can allow it to generate views and reference any script libraries and use our default layout page. Then you can also alter the controller name, but for my case, I will leave it as it is. So if I click add, it will actually create the CRUD views. That is the create, index, update view, and the delete view. So let's just wait. So that is it. So it has created our application. So you can see we have another folder here. It has introduced another folder called employees. So if I click on it, you can see we have our view for creating, deleting, viewing details, edit, and the index, which will give us the list of employees. So we have our controller down here, but I may want to move it at the top to the controllers folder. So cut it and paste it there. So yes, so it will rename the spaces. So if we launch our application, yes, so you can see it is still we cannot access our employees where to create an employee. So what we need to do, come into your Program.cs. So you can see our default route. So we change this to not to go to the home controller but to employees controller. So you can, so the name of the controller should start from the employees up to where the controller starts. So that is how you get the name of the controller. So if we now launch our application, we expect to see the employees section where we can create our employee. Good. So you can see we have now the list, the first name, middle name, last name, email, and the phone number. So if we create a new, we'll just put in some names, then phone number. If we click on create, there we are. So you can see our employee details there. If we come to our database and we just execute this, we can see our data here. So we have actually connected our application with SQL Server. So to proceed, we can now try to tweak the application. So if we want to change the namings, we can come to layout. You can come to layout, then we space this. Then come to employees index. So you can, on the index, we can say this is employees management. Then you can say this add new employee. So we may want to use a Fontawsome. So to add Fontawsome to our application, come into our application, then add, then client-side library, then just type in here from provider will be CDN.js. So type in Fontawsome. So here it is. It will give us the latest version. So you can just click install. It will install to the lib folder. So here we have. So it has actually completed. So we want to reference this to application. So we'll come to shared and we reference it here. So I'll copy this. So it is at lib folder, then Fontawsome. So I'll just copy this name, then paste it here. Then after Fontawsome, we want to access it, the CSS file. I'll paste it there. Then I want this all CSS file. I'll paste it there. Then I also want another one, which is Fontawsome. So I'll take also this one. So we have a reference for Fontawsome to our application. So we go back to our index. So we have just, so we can have even an icon here. So I close that, then I say class. Can put in a Fontawsome icon. So that is it. I can copy this one and reuse it down here on our edit buttons. So I can put in here pencil. Then on the details view, this will be an I. On the delete, this will be trash. So I can also put in a class for the edit buttons. Sorry. So class button class btn primary. Can have it is also button class btn secondary. Can also have this class btn danger. So we are just trying to make our application look more friendly. So if I just now run this, there you can see we have our application name. So that is so we can add as many employees as we want. So yeah, James. So you can add another one. I have autofilled data here. So this is how you create an application in ASP.NETCORE MVC. So this is just a sample app. So we'll be advancing this application on our next videos. So you can actually now edit. So you can see it has pre-populated our data, and you can save it. So you can just put in here 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see it has changed it. You can put in here 0, 0. So we'll be doing validations on our next video. You can put in here 5, 6, 7, 8. Comment down below on your suggestions. Then here you can do this. So that is so view. So you can see it has our details. You can go back to the list. Delete. You can delete here. So you can see don't have. So you can delete as well this one. So that is it, guys, for our application. So comment down below in case you have any question, or you recommend any session that we can have. In the meantime, actually, I recommend you subscribe to our videos to get more insights and to get the notification whenever we post new videos. Thank you, and see you in our next video.